16 presidents of the Philippines and their contributions to our country. General Emilio Aguinaldo, 1899 to 1901. Emilio Aguinaldo, born March 23, 1869 near Cavite, Cavite, and died on February 6, 1964. He is a Filipino leader and politician who fought first against Spain and later against the United States of America for the independence of the Philippines. Aguinaldo's parents were members of the political upper class of Cavite, a city south of Manila. His father was mayor of Cavite Viejo, present-day Kawit, a position that Aguinaldo himself would assume in 1896. These are his contributions to our country's history. He was the first and only president of the First Republic. He signed the Biak na Bato, creating a truce between the Spanish and Philippine revolutionaries. He was known as the president of the revolutionary government. He led during Spanish-American War and Philippine-American War and fought in Battle of Manila Bay. He was also the youngest president, taking presidency at the age of 28, and he was the longest-lived president, passed away at 94. Manuel Luis Quezon, 1935 to 1944. Manuel Luis Quezon y Molina, born August 19, 1878 at Baler and died on August 1, 1944. He was a Filipino statesman, leader of the independence movement, and first president of the Commonwealth, established U.S. tutelage in 1935. His parents were Lucio Quezon, his father, and Maria Dolores Molina, his mother. These are his contributions to our country during his presidency. He is known as the father of national language or ama ng wikang pambansa, wherein he approved Tagalog or Filipino as the national language of the Philippines. He was the first Senate president elected as President of the Philippines. First president through a national election. He created National Council of Education, initiated women's suffrage in the Philippines during the Commonwealth, and his body lies within the special monument of Quezon Memorial Circle to commemorate his leadership in country. Jose P. Laurel, 1943 to 1945. Jose Paciano Laurel E. Garcia, born March 9, 1891 in Tanawan, and died November 6, 1959. He was a Filipino lawyer, politician, and jurist who served as the third president of the Philippines during the Japanese occupation during World War II. His parents were Sotero Laurel I, his father, and Jacoba Garcia, his mother. He was officially the government's caretaker during the Japanese occupation. These are his contributions during his presidency. Since the 1960s, Laurel considered a legitimate president of the Philippines. He organized Kalibapi or Kapisanan sa Paglilingkod sa Bagong Pilipinas, or in English, Associate for Service to the New Philippines, a provisional government during Japanese occupation. He declared martial law and war between the Philippines and United States in 1944, and with his family, he established the Lyceum of the Philippines. Sergio Osmeña, 1944 to 1946. Sergio Osmeña, born September 9, 1878 at Cebu City and died October 19, 1961. He is a Filipino statesman, founder of the Nationalist Party, or in Tagalog, Partido Nacionalista, and fourth president of the Philippines from 1944 to 1946. Owing to the circumstance of his birth, the identity of his father had been a closely guarded family secret, surnamed Sanson. Osmeña was the second president of the Commonwealth. These are his contributions during his presidency. He was the first Visayan citizen to become president of the Philippines. He joined with General Douglas MacArthur in Leyte on October 20, 1944 to begin restoration of Philippine freedom after Japanese occupation. And Philippine National Bank was rehabilitated and the country joined the International Monetary Fund. Manuel Rojas, 1946 to 1948. Manuel Acuña Rojas, born January 1, 1892 at Capiz and died on April 15, 1948. He was a political leader and first president of the Third Republic of the Philippines. His parents were Gerardo Rojas I, his father, and Rosario Acuña, his mother. Manuel Rojas was the fifth president of the Philippines and the last president under the Commonwealth. He held office for only 1 year, 10 months, and 18 days. These are his contributions to his presidency. He led the reconstruction of the Philippines from war damage and life without foreign rule began during his presidency, and under his term, Philippine Rehabilitation Act and Philippine Trade Act laws were accepted by Congress. Elpidio Quirino, 1948 to 1953. Elpidio Quirino E. Rivera, born November 16, 1890 at Vigan, Ilocos Sur, and died on February 28, 1956. He was a political leader and second president of the Third Republic of the Philippines. His parents were Don Mariano Quebral Quirino, his father, and Doña Gregoria Mendoza Rivera, his mother. Quirino served as vice president under Manuel Rojas. When Rojas died in 1948, he became replacement for president. These are his contributions during his presidency. Hukbalahap, guerrilla movement active during his presidency. He created Social Security Commission. He created Integrity Board to monitor graft and corruption. And Quezon City became capital of the Philippines in 1948. Ramon Magsaysay, 1953 to 1957. Ramon Del Fierro Magsaysay, Sr., born August 31, 1907, at Iba, Zambales, and died on March 17, 1957. He was the seventh President of the Philippines, best known for successfully defeating the communist-led Hukbalahap movement. His parents were Ezekiel Magsaysay, his father, and Perfecta Del Fierro, his mother. He was a military governor and an engineer. He died in a helicopter crash while boarding the presidential plane. These are his contributions during his presidency. Hukbalahap movement quelled during his presidency. He was the chairman of the Committee on Guerrilla Affairs. His presidency referred to as the Philippines' Golden Years for its lack of corruption. Philippines was ranked second in Asia's clean and well-governed countries during his presidency, and he established the National Resettlement and Rehabilitation Administration, or NARA, among other agrarian reforms. Carlos P. Garcia, 1957 to 1961. Carlos Polistico Garcia, born November 4, 1896 at Talibon, Bohol, and died on June 14, 1971. He was the fourth President of the Republic of the Philippines. His parents were Policronio Garcia, his father, and Ambrosia Polistico, his mother. He was a lawyer, poet, and teacher. Carlos P. Garcia also served as a guerrilla war during the Pacific War. Garcia served as Vice President under Ramon Magsaysay. He became President when Magsaysay died in 1957. These are his contributions during his presidency. He was known for Filipino First policy, which favored Filipino businesses over foreign investors. He established the austerity program, focusing on Filipino trade and commerce. He was also known as the Prince of Visayan Poets and the Bard from Bohol. Cultural arts was revived during his term, and he was the first president to have his remains buried at the libingan ng mga bayani. Diosdado Macapagal, 1961 to 1965. Diosdado Pangan Macapagal, born September 28, 1890 at Lubao, Pampanga, and died on April 21, 1997. His parents were Urbano Macapagal, his father, and Romana Pangan, his mother. He was a reformist president of the Philippines from 1961 to 1965. He was a lawyer and professor. These are his contributions during his presidency. He established the land reform law, allowing for the purchase of private farmland to be distributed in inexpensive, small lots to the landless. He placed the Philippine peso on the currency exchange market. He declared June 12, 1898 to be the Philippines' Independence Day. He signed the minimum wage law and he created Philippine Veterans Bank. Ferdinand Marcos, 1965 to 1986. Ferdinand Emmanuel Edralin Marcos Sr., born September 11, 1917 at Sarat, Ilocos Norte, and died September 28, 1989. He was a lawyer and a Senate President for 3 years. He was the 10th President of the Philippines for 21 years. His parents were Mariano Marcos, his father, and Josefa Edralin, his mother. Under his term, he ruled under martial law and his dictatorship was known for its corruption and brutality. Marcos was removed from his presidency after the People Power Revolution. These are his contributions during his presidency. He was the first president to win for his second term. He declared martial law on September 22, 1972. He increased the size of Philippine military and armed forces. By 1980, the Philippine GNP or Gross National Product was 4 times greater than 1972. By 1986, the Philippines was one of the most indebted countries in Asia. He built more schools, roads, bridges, hospitals, and other infrastructure than all former presidents combined. And the only president whose remains are interred inside the refrigerated crypt. Corazon Aquino, 1986 to 1992. Maria Corazon Cuangco Aquino, born January 25, 1933 at Paniqui, Tarlac, and died on August 1, 2009. Her parents were Jose Cuangco, his father, and Demetria Sumulong, his mother. She was a Philippine political leader who served as the first female president of the Philippines. She was a prominent figure in the People Power Revolution that brought down Ferdinand Marcos' dictatorship. Her husband, Benigno Aquino Jr., was a senator during the Marcos regime and its strongest critic. He was assassinated while Marcos was still in power. These are her contributions during her presidency. She was the first woman president of the Philippines or any Asian country. She restored democracy. She abolished the 1973 Marcos Constitution and ushered in the new 1987 Constitution of the Philippines. She reorganized the structure of the executive branch of the government. She signed the Family Code of 1987, a major civil law reform, and 1911 Local Government Code, which reorganized the structure of the executive branch of government. She initiated charitable and social activities helping the poor and the needy. She named Woman of the Year in 1986 by Time magazine. Fidel V. Ramos, 1992 to 1998. Fidel Valdez Ramos, also known as Eddie Ramos, born March 18, 1928 at Lingayen, Pangasinan. He was a military leader and politician who was the 12th President of the Philippines. His parents were Narciso Ramos, his father, and Angela Valdez, his mother. He was generally regarded as one of the most effective presidents of the Philippines. He is the first and so far the only non-Catholic president of the Philippines. He was also the first president under 1987 Constitution. These are his contributions during his presidency. As president, he restored economic growth and stability in country, even during the Asian financial crisis in 1997. He presided over celebrations of Philippine Independence Centennial in 1998. He hosted the 4th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders Summit in the Philippines in 1996. Philippine Stock Exchange became an international favorite during his presidency. Death penalty was reinstated while he was in his term, and he signed peace agreement with the rebel MNLF or Moro National Liberation Front. Joseph Estrada, 1998 to 2001. Joseph Marcelo Ejercito Estrada, also known as ERAP, born April 19, 1937 at Manila. He was a Filipino actor and politician who served as 13th President of the Philippines. His parents were Emilio Ejercito Sr., his father, and Maria Marcelo, his mother. He was the first president who had been a famous actor. His presidency was controversial. During his years in office, economic growth was slow and he faced impeachment proceedings. He was ousted from the presidency in 2001. He was later convicted of stealing from the government but was pardoned. These are his contributions during his term. During his presidency, MILF or Moro Islamic Liberation Front headquarters and camps were captured. He joined other leaders and politicians tried to amend the 1987 Constitution, cited as one of the three outstanding senators of 1989, and among the Magnificent 12 who voted to terminate the agreement that allows for U.S. control of Clark Air Base and Subic Naval Base. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 2001 to 2010. Maria Gloria Macaraeg Macapagal Arroyo, also known for his initials GMA, born April 5, 1947 at San Juan, Rizal. She was the 13th President and second female President of the Philippines. Her parents were former President Diosdado Macapagal, his father, and Evangelina Macaraeg, his mother. Arroyo oversaw road and infrastructure improvements and higher economic growth than presidents before her. But there was also a controversy. The so-called Hello Garci controversy involved recordings that allegedly captured Arroyo, ordering the rigging of the election that put her in office. In 2005, Arroyo faced impeachment proceedings related to the recordings, but the impeachment failed. After she had left office, Arroyo faced additional charges of election fraud and misuse of state funds. These are her contributions during her presidency. She was the first Vice President of the Philippines under Joseph Estrada. She was the first president to take oath outside Luzon. Peso became the best performing currency of the year in Asia in 2007, and IVAT law was implemented under her term. Benigno Aquino III, 2010 to 2016. Benigno Simeon Cuangco Aquino III, also known as Pinoy or Noynoy, born February 8, 1960 at Manila. He is a Filipino politician who served as 15th President of the Philippines from 2010 to 2016 and was the scion of a famed politician family. Benigno Aquino III joined the House of Representatives and the Senate before his presidency. He is the first president who is a bachelor. He is unmarried and has no children. These are his contributions during his presidency. He created the No Wang Wang or street siren policy. He appointed statesman Jesse Robredo to serve as Secretary of Department of Interior and Local Government or DILG in 2010, where Robredo served until his death in 2012. He initiated K-12 education in the Philippines. He renamed the Office of the Press Secretary to Presidential Communications Operations Office and appointed new officers. He suspended allowance and bonuses to government OWED and controlled corporation and government financial institution board members, and oversaw 7.1% growth of the Philippine economy in 2012. Rodrigo Duterte, 2016 up to present. Rodrigo Roa Duterte, also known as Digong or Rodi, born March 28, 1945 at Davao. He is a Filipino politician who served as 16th and current President of the Philippines. He was also the first president from Mindanao to hold the office, and he was the oldest president at the age of 75. He surpassed former President Sergio Osmeña. His parents were Vicente Duterte, his father, and Soledad Roa, his mother. These are his contributions during his presidency so far. He started a nationwide campaign to rid the country of crime, corruption, and illegal drugs. He resumed peace talks with the Communist Party of the Philippines in 2016, but cancelled all negotiations in February 2017 following attacks and kidnapping of soldiers by NPA members, branding the CPP-NPA as a terrorist group. He campaigned to restore the death penalty in the Philippines.